Welcome, everybody, back here at Veil of Sound. And when we start, I want to give a question to all of our audience. And I'll also clue it up at the end. If you see that gentleman beneath me here with the wonderful white mohawk who is trying to trim a kind of mustache that is basically non-existent, when you see him, this is a certain number. This is like not his first interview with us here. And I want you to think if you can get all the interviews that I did with Eugene Robinson together. So first of all, Steve, thanks for joining Eugene and me here on what is basically nearly a regular every year thing. And I hope that all of you are well, gentlemen.
Yeah. I'm better than when I saw you last I believe it was Roadburn.
Yes, it was. I wanted to ask about your knee. How is it?
The knee is great. I start jujitsu. Actually, now Steve's a surgeon. I can. I've been told I can start jujitsu again October 1st, and I've signed up and I'm going in October 1st. I've got slight numbness around the incision site, but otherwise I'm running uphill. I'm doing legs. I've been using the interim time from August 1st to October 1st to weightlift again. So I'm feeling okay. Any cautions?
I'd wear a good knee pad.
Okay.
Your incision, even though it feels numb, it will hurt if you whack it on something.
Okay. Okay.
So I just wear a good knee pad, a good one, a nice big one, not one of those,
Not the brace, but the knee pad, the gel
pad,
knee
just
pad.
to protect it. Yeah, to keep your incision from getting beat. Yeah.
All right. And I signed up for a school here like almost immediately. It's a block from the kids' school. And the question is how long it will take for them to throw me out. Because I don't play well with others. But for me, it's fun, to oil check a guy.
I bet somewhere between 5 and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
You might make it more than you might make it. You might make it one session.
Well, there's actually specifically a guy from my fight team coming out October 1st to accompany me to the training session because they're afraid I'm gonna carry my pirate ship ways internationally, and they don't want that to happen. I mean, he wants to see the house and hang out as well, but it's mostly to
chaperone
babysit me so I don't hurt anybody and don't get hurt. So
yeah, I think it's the latter that you don't. But I was just wondering whether I should call this interview like "Welcome to the doctor's appointment."
Yeah.
But it took a nice turn. For both of you, we always start with the same thing here, and that is the plug of the day. I give you both a moment to think while I plug a band that I think is heavily underrated, and then you both have a moment to think before you give me a band that you think deserves a lot more attention. And I want to plug a band that I interviewed last year, and I think they still don't get enough attention, and it's 3 Second Kiss from Italy. I've rarely known a band that has worked with Albini, released on Discord and on Southern Lord, and that gets so little attention.
How is it possible that they released on Discord if they're from Italy? I thought Discord had a long-standing policy of you have to live in DC if you're going to put out a record on Discord. Have they changed
It's a
that?
Discord sub-label, and it's McKay's sister, I think, that's running.
His sister?
I think it's his sister.
His sister was a Stanford professor, as far as I knew, unless you're talking about his very baby sister, who was a baby when we knew him.
Yeah, wait, let me think. They released...
I remember she was a baby because he told me a story.
Well, let's define baby, because they released through her label, and it was early zeros.
She's got to be, when we met him for the first time, well, I was 19, and he was telling us that he had to give his parents a talking to because they were smoking weed around the baby. So if we were 19, the kid was maybe about 3. So she would be 16.
At the early zeros?
Years younger than him, and Ian is a year older than me. So I don't know, she's in her 40s now, right?
That would fit. That would mean that 20 years ago she was in her 20s.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yes, 3 Second Kiss. amazing indie rock with a lot of noise. So that's something that everybody should listen to a lot. So, Mr. Robinson, you know the drill.
For me, it would be, and I find increasingly many and most of my choices these days are drawn from what we call Team Old Guy. So whether I'm picking an MMA fight, a wrestling match, a jiu-jitsu competition, I'm always rooting for Team Old Guy. In this instance, it would have to be Nick Sakes, and I've known him for years. Don't know whether I'm pronouncing his last name correctly.
You
And
are
I ask him
Dazzling Killman.
yeah,
Upright Forms.
yeah. Well, you didn't know. I could have been saying Colossamite, one of his other bands. But yeah, for sure. It's Dazzling Killman who are now on tour. And of course, Nick had a talk about health issues to open the show. Nick had a heart attack and goes in for some more heart surgery in December. So the fact that he's on tour now, it could very easily be like kind of a Sex Pistols deal where he doesn't make, and I hope to God this is not true, knock on wood, that he makes it through. But he's a phenomenal guy, great guitar player. And so far the shows he's on the road right now. The shows seem to be working really well for him. So I'm pulling 100% for Team Old Guy and Dazzling Killman. Even though who was it in the band that didn't make it back in? Darren Gray, I think
I think.
Yeah.
I know that Goldberg Goldstein from Uniform.
Yeah, two of the old band members opted out, and but that's fine. People have lives. Nobody expected it to be. It's a reissue that they're dealing with, but it doesn't make a difference to me. I love Nick, and I think that if you have an opportunity to go see him play, you should.
And if you want to know a little bit more about his latest band, Upright Forms, June 2024, we had an
interview. Yeah.
So not Nikki B, but Steve. So Steve, your plug of the day.
I have always looked for stuff that I enjoy listening to, and one of the things that my wife and I play around with is like if you could only listen to one band forever for the rest of your life, that's all. Everything they've recorded, that's all you ever get to listen to. And there's some classic responses to that, but it's hard to find. For me, it's very hard to find music that I like, except for one song. There'll be one song that I really like, or a couple songs that I really like, and some other stuff grates on me. But a band that I discovered recently, even though they've been around forever, is Gong. And I had never heard them until last year, and I was like, "Oh, Gong, huh?" I was actually listening to I think I may have been listening to Oxbow Radio on Pandora, is what I was listening to. And they played a Gong song, and I was just like, what is this? And I listened to it, and I go, I never heard of them. Are they a new band? No. They started in 1974. They've got like 30 records. Yeah. And one of the things that I really like about Gong is it's very clear if you listen to their early stuff that they had a lot of different ideas. And it was kind of like how Blue Oyster Cult, different people wrote songs that were like wildly different from each other. And they would kind of break up and fragment and turn into other bands. And in a friendly way, playing kind of some of the same songs, but then you could hear I think the guy's name is Steve Hillier, the guitar player. He's amazingly inventive, and I can always hear if it's him writing the music. It's different, and some of it's kind of goofy. It veers, especially in the early days, it veered off into a lot of Zappa-esque kind of silliness, Beefheart kind of a thing. But yeah, overall, I would say that. They're having now probably listened to maybe all of the songs they ever recorded, and there was a lot of them. For me, it's like they have a very high standard of listenability for me, even though the music is kind of out there. Some of it's pretty weird, but that's what I like. So yeah, it works for me. Gong.
Well, I think those are two very, very good plugs.
You're saying G-O-N-G?
Yeah.
Gong.
Yeah. I want to check and make sure you weren't talking about Greg Ginn's Gone.
No. Didn't? I'm thinking I'm not sure if Gong didn't play at Roadburn a few years ago, but I'm not sure. I have to look that up.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
So, and Eugene basically gave me a good transition because we are going to talk about the band that you two guys founded and who has a reissue of one of their records out, and that is Whipping Boys. So first question I think should be, how did it come that you decided on redoing, not redoing, sorry, it's not a re-performance, but it's a rework and it's a remaster and it's a remix of the Muru Muru record. How did it come that you chose that one?
We've talked about it for years, like years and years and years and years. And you know, I don't know what, I can't remember. I mean, I think probably it was like wanting to leave no stone unturned after the death of Oxbow, and also packing for shit to get here to Spain. And I found one of the tapes and was like, oh, wouldn't it be a cool thing? You know, I talked to Steve. What do you think about sending some of this stuff to Chicarelli, like one or two songs we figured? And he, well, maybe he won't like it. Maybe, well, let's just see. Sent it to him, said, could you do something with this? And Chicarelli was all in. And at that point, of course, the pressure was on me to find these the other fucking 2-inch tape, which of course I then had, and then go through all of the difficulties you have to do when you have tape that's 35 years old, which includes baking it in the oven. And there's only one woman in the Bay in California who does it. She lives up in Petaluma, and of course, you have to transport it. And now it's like gold, right? If you lose those tapes, you got nothing. And so she had to bake it, and then we had to send it to 25th Street Studio, which is Roy Lichtenstein's son's studio, which is strange, you know, small world connection. And it's where Oxbow has recorded a lot of records, and they digitized it and got it to Chicarelli, and he said that he could do it. And at that point, it was just a case of cash changing hands. But it was something that we wanted to do. I mean, I don't know when, Steve, when did we start talking about doing it? I mean, pretty close to when it was actually really released.
No, I would say the first time that I had an inkling was about listening to it on my car, driving home from the mastering session, and just going, you know, it is what it is. You know, we had no money. We spent every penny we had, and then some. And that's what we ended up with. And I was listening to it just going, you know, this is not the way I imagined it. And this isn't really the way it sounds in our practice room. When we're practicing in our rehearsal studio, it sounds better than this, but this is what it is. Maybe people will like it. They didn't. But yeah, I think both of us were like, wouldn't it be great if, you know, if you could hear the bass at all, right? Yeah. Or if the drums, I mean, the drums literally sound like someone's, in the original recording, to me, it sounds like someone has spatulas and they're hitting a sack of flour with spatulas. It's just everything. It was just awful. You know, and I didn't know then, and I still really don't know how to do it. I don't know what Joe did. I mean, he went through every track. He cleaned out like noise that wasn't supposed to be there, guitar bleed through on every drum track, apparently, drum bleed through on every vocal track, that he had to go, you know, and basically just erase it digitally. But the way that it turned out, it was really the way that I thought it should sound in the first place. And I was very excited to hear it. And you know, I think I would say a 40-year dream that we had to do it. And it was very exciting for me. Yeah.
What's amazing too about, you know, we're talking about getting down to the weeds of how you mix. You know, in the old days, and for a long time, everybody would suggest exactly the method that Steve talked about. It's like, okay, take your session, listen to it on something that you're used to, maybe the shittiest thing you're used to,
yeah.
Your car stereo,
the car test, right?
Yeah. And Chicarelli, when he listens, and it's like, having been in the studio when he mixes, he uses it's so fucking loud when he does it. It's like, he doesn't use like little teeny cars. He is massively enveloped in the sound. Like you feel like you're about to have a heart attack. And I, you know, look, the guys won a bunch of Grammys. There's a method to his madness. I don't know why all the other guys are listening on tinny speakers, but he wants to hear everything. And so yeah, he did a pretty phenomenal job. And I mean, I think the thing is, what the sense that I had, I think that Steve shared, was that the record never got a fair shake, right? I think we printed 2,000 copies. I think I sent out 100 promos at the time, and we maybe sold 175 more. That's it. Like that's it. No more. You know, I divided what was left between the band members. Everybody got like 200 records a piece. I'm sure many of them probably lost them. I had a bunch, and you know, bit by bit, I'd be selling them at Oxbow shows or some such thing. But we figured if it was hated for the right reasons, we would have said, okay, okay, but we just felt like it never got a fair shake. And it's, of course, now when we read the reviews of it now that have come out, they're saying, my God, this predated Fugazi. This predated all these bands that are pretty noteworthy. But you know, I mean, we were not thinking of legacy at that point. We just wanted to make a record that we wanted to listen to, and that's exactly what that was, and that's exactly what that record remains. I mean, Muru Muru, or Dysillusion as we're calling it now, is, I mean, I can't, I've listened to it so many times over the years and now. I really enjoy it, especially now that I can divorce it from the emotional pain that went into the lyrics that I wrote for it. You know, it's really nice. It's really nice to listen to.
Well, for me,
I've read somewhere that Eugene said that in a way, I think it was you, that in a way the record for you, because of its production and sound, was a kind of a failure.
I think both Steve and I said that.
that was a total failure. Yeah. I mean, it was even worse than a failure, I would say. It never got a chance. I think that some influential people heard it first and said, "Oh, this is crap. This record's horrible. This Whipping Boy, their last record was really good. This is terrible. It's nothing like that. Don't buy it. Don't listen to it." I mean, literally a month after it was released, I would go to record stores and look for it, and there was nothing. I mean, at best, there would be like a plastic divider that would say Muru Muru on it, and there'd be nothing behind it because they just sent them back to us.
Yep.
And Eugene would end up with this open box of records. They go, "Yeah, no one's buying this. We don't want to keep it." So no one was exposed to it. No one ever heard it. And I think, that's part of the reason. Now, on the other hand, it didn't sound very good. But I think that even then, there's a lot of stuff that didn't sound very good back then that became really popular. There was a lot of garagey, echoey, crappy recorded stuff that did very well. And I think our biggest problem was we just couldn't crack the nut of getting the exposure that we needed to have people go, "Oh yeah, this band, they're really good. I thought they were just a hardcore band. They're much more." No one ever went there with that.
And the ears, I mean, the world's ears weren't they, it was very kind of mono-oral, the world's ears at that point in time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
But I think what makes this great is that this, I mean, us caring about it this long, I'm sure, I'm a bigger grudge holder than Steve, but I'm sure part of it has been just like a revenge fantasy. You know? Yeah. And when I wrote about it for the Substack, and I made mention to this. I go, now that all the people who hated it are dead, maybe this record now has it. And that's largely the world's ears already, and the people who hated it are dead. So the record and our desire to have it achieve, outlasted the people of, what is it that Einstein used to talk about, mediocre minds. Mediocre. And look, I don't care if you could listen to the record, you go, I don't like it, but you can't tell me it's not good. I mean, there's a lot of classical music that's legendary that I don't like, but you don't hear me saying it sucks. Oh man, Beethoven's Fifth. What a fucking shitty piece of music. I mean, no, I don't do that. I just gotta like it.
Yeah, and the poor deaf man is not turning in his grave.
Yeah, that's right.
But could it also be the combination of things? I mean, like, it's, for lack of a better word, it's a very lo-fi record.
Mm-hmm.
Or the original was, yes, that's why I said the original version was a very, very lo-fi thing. And I think in the mid 80s, people were more on the "I want to get but what they always gave me" train, right? Like, so they played hardcore, they have to stick to hardcore.
Yep, yeah, and that was, so. I mean, that informed a lot of what came later with Oxbow. I mean, if you remember, the first two Oxbow records had no credits. No credits, no mention of the band members, nothing. And I didn't want to, I wanted to be judged on its merits. And I could see that Muru Muru was being judged not on its merits, but from this very narrow kind of aperture of hardcore band. And And a lot of us went through the same thing. We weren't alone. I was became right before his death. I was going to say untimely, but he'd been sick for years. Al Burrell from SSD, they put out a record that was like their interpretation of AC/DC. It was called How We Rock. And it was lambasted because people didn't understand what they were doing. So they were just like, I don't understand it. Fuck it. And then so he said, okay. What I'm going to do is they were expecting, chicken pot pie. I gave them steak. Okay. So now I'm just going to give them the steak. And he formed a band called Gauge, and it didn't do very well. And it's like, yeah, I think they should have stuck to their guns. And this is our version of sticking to our guns. I mean, people don't think we were sane for having done this. I mean, when I told
if you compare what you did before, that is understandable.
What I'm saying is when I told Dave Owens, the drummer on the record, that it had happened, that we were doing it, he kind of just went. Like, he was like happy that we had done it, but it really didn't make any sense to him that we had done so. It's like, nah, man, we're not gonna no. We don't fail. It might take a
while.
Yeah, exactly right. So,
Eugene, please allow the next question, because you've already hinted at Axpo. Was the lack of credits on the first two Axpo record also a kind of a reflection? Like, okay, people think we fucked up with Muru Muru, so we fucked up with Muru Muru. We have this new band, and let's not have any negative strings attached to that record.
Yeah, because no. Because Whipping Boy went on to put out The Third Secret of Fatima, which was well received, and then a 7-inch called Crow after that, which I hated personally, but it was played and well received. So Whipping Boy went on to, in a musical sense, I don't even like using the word redeem itself, but I don't think we needed to be redeemed. The idea behind no credits on the Oxbow record was I didn't want Oxbow to be judged through the aperture of Whipping Boy, right?
Yeah.
That's what lazy journalists do. I'm going to blame it on the journalists because they go, oh, it's the guys from Whipping Boy, and therefore it's Whipping Boy-esque. And that it's not the case, So, I mean, which is strange because essentially the first Oxbow show was the last active Whipping Boy show because you had Dan Adams,
Nico, right?
No, Dan Adams, Whipping Boy drummer, was Whipping Boy's last drummer and Oxbow's first bass player. And you had Nico, and then what version? I can't remember who's playing bass that version of the band, that very last version of the band. Mark Nickerson, who didn't stick with us. So when we moved to start doing, I called Nico and Dan to help me with this project that I had unnamed at the time. Then I decided to call Oxbow. Let's see, Tom Dobroff I got on drums because Dan wanted to move to bass, and we had a group, but I didn't want it at all to be Whipping Boy Jr. And as well at the time I was having problems with Sony because of Whipping Boy, the Irish Whipping Boy. So I had to sue those fucks or threaten to sue them. I was approached by a friend of the guys in that band. A friend of one of the friends of somebody in that band. I was in a bar in Waylands that Oxbow was playing in Dublin, and he was a little chippy at first. But I said, "Look, these guys asked me 3 times. I told them 3 times to change your name." But the biggest problem, and then I got interrupted, so I never got to tell him, was that their lawyer was such a fucking prick that I easily gouged him for way more than I would have had the guy been nice at first. He's like, yeah, like what do you want? You want $100, $200? And I was like, what are you fucking talking to?
Put a few more zeros to it.
No, I said, is that what it would cost you if I got a temporary restraining order and forced you to recall all the records from every single record store in America? You think it would be $200 worth of effort on your part? He goes, okay, $2,000. Because, he starts low and wants to, I go, can we start doing business like adults and not assholes? Because we just can keep this going for it. And so we ended up settling for $22,000, grandfather clausing their name for the records that had already been put out, and treble damages if there were any further future breaches of contract. So that's how we settled with them. And of course, it killed the band, and which is what the guy in the bar was telling me. But I was unrepentant. I said, You know, we made more money from that lawsuit than I ever did from Whipping Boy. So that should be noted. And
But that sounds like a very American thing.
we also spent more on this remix reissue than than Whipping Boy ever made. So if mathematically speaking, if you take the $22,000 minus what we spent, I'd say our lifetime take on Whipping Boy was probably $2,000.
Hey, that's more than you make on Spotify.
On what? Spotify?
On Spotify,
yeah, exactly. Spotify.
But I think we should also talk about the time when the record was conceived. Steve, somewhere you said like that you had like something like 50 songs in your repertoire, and Klaus Florid was coming over, and you said like, okay, we want to do another record, and you say that somewhere, he simply agreed to do it. Did you ever have a feeling as if he understood what you wanted to do?
I'm going to say
not to blame everything on Klaus.
No, yeah, right? No, and it's not his fault. I mean, we were sitting right there in the recording studio with him, so it's not like he was like doing it behind our back or anything. But I think that I've told the story before about how we said we want to record another record, come to our rehearsal studio and listen to us play, and we'll play the record for you. We've been practicing it as a unit, and he came and we played it it lasted like 37 minutes or something, and he was just kind of like, "Really? This is what you're going to record?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he was just like, okay. And it was a weird moment because I thought he was going to maybe back out on us at that point for a second. But then he goes, "No, okay, we'll do it. This should be interesting." And it was not at all what he expected. And I think that that's one of the things. I think if we had gone with somebody else, I don't know who else we would have gone with. I mean, if we could have recorded on a 24 track at Tom Mallon's place, for instance, the record I think would have turned out very different. Mallon seemed to understand what we were doing a lot more than Klaus did, and Klaus was not like Jello had this thing that he wanted every band to be like, fuck the police. Every lyric had to be death to whatever. And we had some of those songs, but we were definitely at that point really moving away from that sort of like knee-jerk anti-government, and more the songs were more about our personal inner struggles, rather than like looking outward for some Reagan or somebody to shit on. And I think that there may have been a little bit of a mismatch there, and at that point we had gotten to that point. Interestingly, we had moved rehearsal studios a couple of times, and we had this rehearsal room that was basically an abandoned, condemned building. And somebody gave me the keys to it, and we went over there and we'd set up our equipment. And the problem is we had to set our equipment way up against the wall because the roof leaked. So when it rained, water would pour in and saturate the rug. And so we had to have all our amps and stuff put up against the wall. But that place was so weird and gross. I think it spawned a lot of creativity in us. And we wrote a bunch of like very interesting songs. And some
that
of
was not creativity. That was mold.
Yeah. It's a black mold. Yeah.
It was crazy shit in that. But I still have around here the Black Madonna, that crystal broken Virgin Mary that somebody who had burned and blackened the head of. Dude, I don't know if you remember that. There was a lot of weird shit in that house. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But sorry, Steve, we interrupted you.
It was very weird. But yeah, so you remember that song Party Vine? Party Vine? That was one of the songs we wrote. And when we'd practicing, and we started writing songs this way, which before I would come in with a recording of a guitar part and maybe some lyrics, or Eugene would have some lyrics that he'd given me, and I would have recorded this thing. I go, okay, here, and this will be the verse, this will be the chorus, here's the music that goes with it. Let's start rehearsing it. But during this era of the band, we were actually hanging out in this place and just sort of randomly jamming and creating songs from that. And Party Vine's a song I always wish we recorded because it was really stupid. Eugene's vocals were like completely unhinged, and it was almost like a funk song. And it was pretty unstructured, and that's kind of where we were headed. We were heading to songs that were less, could have used a metronome, set on 160 beats a minute. This is what our song is, and things, I think dynamically and the way that we wrote them had changed a lot. But yeah, there was some apprehension, I think, even at the very beginning, with the new stuff that we were doing.
Was the new direction that you went in with Muru Muru, was that
Jazz
also?
Odyssey. I was just a line from Spinal Tap, the first Spinal Tap. This is our new direction, the Jazz Odyssey.
Freeform Jazz Odyssey, yeah.
But when you did that, was that also kind of, we've said everything we wanted to say in the first path that we were on?
I think that if I had more angry anti-government songs in me, mm-hmm. I would have composed those if I had those. And I think if I had more like straight up, really fast, like dissonant chord, hardcore songs in me, I would have written those too. But once we started writing kind of more melodic, sort of less formulaic songs, because back then, I mean, when I listened to hardcore still, you can tell, oh, it's 1983. Things started changing rapidly around then. Before 1983, punk rock, hardcore, it was all like very various versions of like Ramones songs. Some of them were faster and louder and more aggressive, but it was all just like three chords and repetitive. Usually, there'd be lyrics, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and it would be the same lyrics. They really only wrote two parts. You do it 3 times and you're done. And I found that stuff, and it was fun. When we first started playing, we'd have a set list that had like 40 songs on it because they were only like 70 seconds long. But after a while, it's a little tedious. It's like you're doing the same thing over and over again. And in terms of playing stuff like that, I can't say that like, playing 4 Stations was such a blast that I always loved playing it, I don't remember enjoying playing it. I remember just kind of a workmanlike, I wish Dave hadn't started so fast, but Dave always started the songs too fast, which made us all have to play fast, which Nikki made a joke the other day. We were listening to something and she goes, "Is there a lyric sheet?" It was something that Eugene was singing off of Sound of No Hands Clapping. She goes, "Was there a lyric sheet? I'd like to find out what it was he was saying, because he's singing so fast. You can't say the words, and he's written the lyrics out. So there, some literary prose that he's written. And then when he tries to sing it, it's like,
yeah. Buster Robinson.
Well, that's kind of what forced Muru Muru, to happen, right? I mean, the lyrics had changed, and they weren't, I mean, the strangest advice I got at the time, yeah, Steve might remember. You remember Jake Action? Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Jake Action was like a milder version of Frank Booth from Blue Velvet. And I say this only because he used to have a tank of butane gas in his car that he had in a mask. And he said, "Eugene, you have to write lyrics." And of course, Jake Action was like probably 10 years older than us at the time. He was like, "You got to write lyrics that really, hit these kids where they live." And he was suggesting that we write lyrics about Ben Davis. I go, "Who's Ben Davis?" And he goes, No, it's not who. It's a clothing. The kids who wear Ben Davis's clothes, they're beating up all the punk rock kids. You gotta. I was like, man, I just I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Anti-referent, man.
Yeah,
totally.
yeah. Jake. Last time I saw Jake, he had moved to Minneapolis because he had done some national study about where heterosexual men have the most sex, and he figured out it was Minneapolis. I go, "You're out of your mind." And he showed up to an Oxbow show with one woman under each. But they were like Midwest farmer daughters type. They were all like, they both outweighed him, in other words. So, but I was like, good for you, Jake. You made this pay. But yeah, at the time.
So they were not California girls, huh?
No, I mean, no, the lyrics kind of pulled us this way and that way. And it did any of the lyrics off of Muru Muru, if you can envision them as hardcore songs, it might be a funny way to spend 20 minutes, but it's not going to work, right?
Yeah, and it's also pretty obvious that in a way your your vocals and your vocal style changed a lot between the sound of what is it was the record before, the sound of one hand clapping,
Out of no hands
and
clap. It's out of no hands clapping.
yeah, sorry, and then onto Muru Muru. And it's in a way also a very interesting way because, one can see you shifting into other ways of vocals.
Mm.
Something that I was wondering when I looked at the record and when I was looking for like original recordings on the web, which is not easy to find. Easier to find the sound of no hand clapping. But it's hard to find original versions of Muru Muru. I found that you gave the Dysillusion record, the new version, you gave it a new track list. Why?
Well, first of all, the song that we cut off, Vision, I absolutely thought to myself, we didn't wait 35 fucking years for me to put a song that I was lukewarm about in the beginning and it wasn't, I was unhappy with my performance on it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, all of the other songs they were, realized, right?
Yeah.
And that song was a becoming song, not a being song.
Yeah.
And like I said, it sounded like to me like the Bad Brains, but not in a good way,
Mm-hmm.
And so I that was from the first, because remember we started out, we're just gonna do 2 songs and 3 songs and 4, and fuck it, we're gonna do the whole record. And I was like, I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to wince when I think about this record. So that one's out. And then we did something that was unusual. Like Steve and I were like, okay, well, we'll just pull that one out and do it as it was. But at the last second, and I've had a good luck with this, I said, hey, Joe, if you had to order the songs, how would you order them? And he came up with an order, and we listened to them in that order, and we're like, well, that's why he is where he is, and we are where we are.
That's why he has a Grammy, and we have to give him. Oh, yeah,
exactly. It was a massive improvement, I never would have. I mean, never. With 7 songs, what they say about monkeys and typewriters. Given enough time and the proper motivation, maybe both of us, we're fairly smart guys, fairly intuitive types. We would have come up with that, but it was a minor switch. But it we were incapable of doing it because it's so close to us, right? So. And Joe could listen to it. I mean, he was probably listening to Jack White the day before and then Morrissey the day after. The fuck that he doesn't give a shit, whatever. It's just what sounds good to him. He has no emotional attachment to these songs at all. So I really do. I enjoy his version. And really, realistically, Team Old Guy is the only one who thinks in terms of albums anyway. I guarantee you, most people who are listening to this are listening to single cuts that's coming to them on shuffle through Apple Music or Tidal or Spotify or wherever else they get their digital music from, right?
Thanks for making me old.
Me too, man.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah, but you are old.
Yeah, exactly. These people give me their records, and I'm like, oh, I'm looking forward to listen to your album. Album? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Album. That's what I want to listen to.
So, do you remember, Eugene, that we almost put Lavender Girl on that record?
It would have been well suited.
It would have fit. It would have fit. We had not been playing it long enough, and Dave didn't feel comfortable recording it. I think
that would have been. I love that song, man. I made my mind up today. That's a great song. So, and that's off of Third Secret of Fatima, and I think it did. I think it helped Third Secret of Fatima as well. So, yeah. I would have easily. Now that you mention that, I wish I thought about it at the time, because what I would have done is take Lavender Girl and replace Vision and hit cross. But that would be then you just kind of
yeah.
And I wanted
to involve some people you don't necessarily want to involve.
There you go. Right.
Question. I mean, like you've already described the way that Chicarelli worked with the new masters or with the new source material that you gave him. Was clarity really one of the most important things that you think that Muru Muru was lacking?
Well, I know how Joe works, right? And what's special about Joe is that all the shit that I kind of like. What he said to me fundamentally is, you don't need that to make a strong musical statement.
Mm.
You don't need it. You absolutely fucking don't need it, right? Oh, Steve disagreed. He'll call back in.
Yeah, no
So,
problem.
and like his ear, he just kind of blocks out that shit, and he was like, in other words, I'm in the bar stool next to you, shouting and screaming, and Joe is like, trying to turn down the decibels on the shouting and screaming and get to the element of the musical element of the meaning of the musical element, and yeah, um, I think that's what was really needed.
Yeah,
Um,
cut the fat and trim that. That is definitely. But at the same time, it also results in the fact that we can hear you scream at Klaus lot more clearly when at one end of a song you're like, "You're blowing it, Klaus."
yeah, but that's not me. That's not me screaming. If you've ever spent any time with me,
No,
um,
it's not like screaming, but it sounds like okay, as if you are giving them a kind of a hard time.
yeah, listen. Somebody once came to me, and there was a language problem because we were playing in another country, and they came to me and they were
In
saying,
Georgia.
no, they were saying that there was some problem with the money. But what they were saying is, I don't have the money now. I'm going to get the money right now. All I heard was problem in money. And the guy said he left. He was trembling when he left. And I thought he was having a nervous condition. And he later told somebody who told me, he goes, the look that Eugene gave me, it's like the line from that David Lynch film. I never want to see that look again. I never want to see that look again. So when I'm saying, you're blowing it, Klaus, I'm joking with Klaus. I mean, if it was serious, it probably wouldn't have been included on the record.
Mm.
Because I mean, keep in mind, I used to do, I used to
I
do that.
know. It's just
Yeah. So I don't, if I'm really upset with you, then it doesn't play that way, you know.
something else that one of our writers, Kurt Orsak, who I think you talked to a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I we were discussing. So there was no official disbandment of Whipping Boy.
Correct. Still not.
So yeah, but is Whipping Boy still a thing?
It is. I mean, you have a reissued record out, and I mean, part of that was an obstinacy with the Irish band, who, even though they haven't violated the terms of the legal agreement that we have with them, every time that they've played shows, kind of revival shows or brief reunion shows or celebrate. Oh, this is the 30th year release, and I kind of want to, in a subtle kind of cross communication media way, let them know, if you fucking try it again, I am there, and according to the terms of the
I
agreement,
see you. Yeah.
yeah, it's treble damages next time around. So
But
that's what we're talking about.
but can we expect any new stuff, or are you maybe looking at maybe also remastering the records before or some other stuff? Is Whipping Boy a band that, for example, we can expect to hear unreleased music from?
Mm, I would like to say yes,
But
because the scumbag John Coonaberti, who was kind of like the assistant producer on Third Secret of Fatima and never had our best interest at heart, kind of screwed up that record as well. Klaus produced it as well, but decided to bring in a heavyweight. That was Coonaberti, because Coonaberti had done a bunch of Dead Kennedys records, but he absolutely hated us. We hated him. And so we don't think that record ended up sounding like anything. But of course, that's a different ball of wax, because Steve and I have worked well together from the beginning to the very end, right? and especially since there is no end. So I say, Steve and I have worked together well from the beginning till even this moment in time now. Third Secret of Fatima is a different cast of characters. The drummer who was drumming on that recently died. I wrote a Substack about it. The guitar player is Bart Thurber, who runs House of Faith Studios now, and pretty much after the last Whipping Boy tour, put down his guitar and said he would never play again. And the bass player lives in Vegas. And of course, the other guitar player was Nico Wenner, who I'm not making music with. So that, it would be nice. There are some great songs on that that deserve a better production treatment, but that's not anything that puts me in a working relationship with people I don't want to be with. Makes it not fun for me to do.
So in a way, it is a yes and a no. Whipping Boy is a thing, but not a thing at the same time.
Well, the thing is, I have every single, quarter, everything we recorded, I have on tape, but everything that we've recorded, I mean, outside of like Steve mentioned Party Vine, I have no memory of this at all, but I have no memory of a lot of things. Really amazing. Some stuff I want to talk to Steve about. This woman I know who's a big finance trader or something in Hong Kong. She goes, "Do you remember what happened last time we met?" And I was like, "Oh my God, no." But tell me.
Here is the result 9 months after.
Oh, no, close. But she says, "You picked me up, you carried me into your room, you threw me down on the bed, and you said, 'I'll be back.' And you never came back." And I can't believe that was the year where I was moaning and groaning about not getting laid. And I don't know what happened that I didn't get back. And I was gonna doubt. I said that never fucking happened, but she was still pretty steamed about it. I mean, we're talking pleasantly, but in remembering, she was, and I was like, "Look, I took a lot of acid back then. I don't know what happened." So that girl Becky from Berkeley, Steve,
Yeah.
I don't remember. So Party Vine, I don't remember, but we did a few things. We did The Sound of No Hands Clapping. We did Muru Muru. Now there's Dysillusion, the Muru Muru remix. And then Brian Sheckley and a Grand Theft Audio released Subcreature, The Fucked Years, which is a pure hardcore release. And that includes stuff that wasn't on Sound Had No Hands Clapping, some weird live stuff we have where the sound guy absolutely hated us and thought he was fucking with our set, but it actually made a song like Cracked Mirror sound really phenomenal, or Gun Love. I think it was Gun Love that he had.
Gun Love, yeah.
Yeah, and they're versions of the weirder stuff off of, like, for example, if this were to go nuts, if this were to do great business, this Dysillusion, there are songs off of The Sound of No Hands Clapping that deserve their own platform. Like all of the weird non-hardcore shit on that record, and there were a few. It was Crack Mirror, it was Gun Love. There were a few we could actually put out. But Tom Mound did such a great job. I don't know that Joe would have much to do with it. It would just be kind of a repackaging. But in terms of unreleased stuff, no, it doesn't exist. And in terms of new stuff, well, why would we do that? I mean, everybody in Whipping Boy has gone on to major successes in other places. So it's going to be hard to get people in a rainy, dirty rehearsal room to make music.
To reconfigure what you had 40 years ago.
Even though I'm glad to say that Dave Owens actually won some big award. He's a professor, a hotshot professor at Vanderbilt, and he won some big cash award. And he said, there's an award ceremony where they gave it to him, and everybody's, "Oh, we love you, Dave." And he took that money right afterward and went and bought another drum kit. So I was happy that he had done that. But yeah, we're not gonna. Even though offers are coming in, and nobody has met my insanely outrageous financial take. But if somebody were to come across and say we'll give you $100,000 to do a live version of this record, I'm sure we could put it together. I mean, $100,000 for 45 minutes of fucking music, you can't beat that take, and that would be pretty nice to do. So
yeah, it's like more than 2,000 a minute.
Exactly.
And then with 1 minute, you'd already have all the the money that you already made with it.
That's right, right.
Think about that. You
and
could
it was,
you could take all the money that you made and buy 50. You know, like
you got to understand, in the years that we've talked about Muru Muru, we've talked about like lots of different schemes to reintroduce it. At one point, we were talking about taking photos of some, just getting photos taken of another band, changing the name and releasing it because we knew nobody had given it a fair shake. So we said, we're going to earn a fair shake with it, call it some other name and just see what happens. So there's always been the idea that it deserved a wider audience. So.
What is also interesting, I mean, like you have a Grammy Award winning um, sound engineer or mastering genius, however we want to call Chicarelli. And
in this instance, he was a remixer, yeah.
Yeah, and you, for the new repackaging of a record, you have somebody who's also pretty well known in the scene because you got Aaron Turner to do it.
Aaron Turner did the layout. Steve did the artwork.
Oh, Mr. Ballinger did the artwork.
Yeah.
Very, very sorry.
Yeah. And he actually has the record. My copy hasn't shown up to Spain yet. So Steve was saying it looks even better than his original painting. So
it's beautiful. It's really beautiful, yeah.
But was that also in a way somewhat consoling with the record because getting people on board who are known, I mean, like especially Aaron, who are known for a kind of artistic integrity. Was it also in a kind of way like rewarding and consoling for you guys?
Well, Aaron, I was uncharacteristically shy about it because I didn't know, this guy is busy. Sumac is doing really well, but Aaron was super excited about it because he's an old hardcore head, and he's really, if Hydra Head was still out, this would have been released on Hydra Head, but he jumped at the opportunity to be able to do it. So we were happy to have him do so. And then also we got John Golden to do the mastering, who's the guy that we should have gone with the first time. I mean, John has done, everybody from the Melvins to all of the Oxbow records, with the exception of, I think, the last two. And he did the last two. He did the for vinyl because he does magic with vinyl. And we got Emily Lodge in New York, she's massively great. Emily did for digital for the Oxbow stuff. Yeah, so with John Golden, Joe Chicarelli, Aaron, it was really pretty flattering to have, all these top flight folks fucking want to help out and not not drive us to ruin with exorbitant cash demands, but pretty much just doing it for the love of it. So and the opportunity Aaron was especially excited about, I mean, to do the graphics and the layout. He didn't have to hear the record, but he really wanted to get that low ticket number to let him hear the record first. That was really what I was like, not even going to send it to him because, one, I'm cheap. And then two, I was like, hey, he doesn't need to see it to do the artwork. He's like, no, I got to hear it. I got to hear it. So he really wanted to hear it.
Also because he's a nerd in a way. Still is.
Oh, yeah.
Something that struck me and that I would like to ask both of you. I mean, like, the story is clear. You met at Stanford University. I still wonder how Robinson got in there, but anyway. But you met at Stanford University. And I mean, like, we all know that the AD scene in the Bay Area was pretty interesting. You had Gilman Street in San Francisco and all the other places. How much of that area and era went into the music? Is there something where you said, like, okay, that is maybe not thematically, but that is like, okay, this to me sounds like San Francisco in the 80s or whatever you call
it? I'll let Steve start with that.
Yeah, but he's thinking like, why don't you start first? But anyway, Steve.
Yeah, I would say that it had your environment, of course, has some effect on your artistic output. I would say that mostly for me, and I think Eugene would agree with this, that being at Stanford and not really being in San Francisco, being south, it more, I felt more pressure to not do what I wanted to do, which excited in me a desire to say "fuck you" to the people saying it, and so people going, "Oh yeah, no, that's no good. You guys should be playing. You should be playing some like Go-Go's covers, in your sets." And I'm just like,
You
no.
sing and Eugene does go-go dancing.
Yeah, he's a good go-go dancer, by the way. Yeah, it was. It was. I would say that mostly what shaped me was kind of a chip on my shoulder about no, I'm not going to do what you guys are telling me to do because I think you're full of crap. Um, and I would say that the band started that way. Our first record has some indications that was going on, and I would say that Muru Muru was a full blast expansion
Mhm.
of this is some ideas I have, and I don't really care what you all think. Sadly, I really did care a little bit what y'all think, and my feelings were really hurt when that record did poorly. It was I felt like Eugene and I both put everything into it. Sam and Dave too, who were always kind of Sam and Dave were always kind of like, oh, the band, yeah, we're gonna go play in front of 100 teenage boys standing on their skateboards. There will be no girls. There will be no alcohol to drink backstage, and there'll be 8 other bands playing that are all indistinguishable from each other. They were not really that into it. But when we were recording Muru Muru, they were into it. And it made it fun to do. It made me feel like this is what we should be doing right here, not that other thing. We should be doing this. And then when, I had to take it on the chin when it was not appreciated by the populace. But I wasn't really doing it for them. I was doing it for me. So, I guess I could have just done that without spending, $8,000 to come out with a record, but
So
I mean, and then Steve is hinting at it here, but the reality of it is, one of the reasons we went national is because I don't want to use the word reviled, but we were not trusted. Um,
we were not accepted. We were outsiders.
the fact that we were physically fit, the fact that we went to Stanford both these made us suspect as jocks, possible rich kids, dilettantes, and tourists. And we were just old. We were a little bit older than the kids, the hardcore kids. But I was a punk rocker from New York, and they didn't, what the fuck, New York? What? But it was where we got by the sheer dint of will. We just, I mean, our first show was an example of that. We said, we're all here. We should be playing. We went to the Circle Jerks and go, hey, we want to play. Yeah, we want to. And I think visually, maybe they just figured it's easier to let them play 3 songs before we start than fighting them. So let's just let them fucking play. But Dirk Dirksen, who used to book the Mabuhay, the MAB, where, the Dead Kennedys played, Romeo Void played, all these people. I saw Swans there, Black Flag played. Dirksen, we would go to shows like 3 shows a week, right? Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday from classes. And I said, Dirksen, why don't you book us? Like, he goes, I'm not booking you because your guitar player is a fucking fascist pig.
Yeah, he hated me.
Oh, where the fuck did you get that from? He goes, he was here one night with his girlfriend and I didn't like the way he talked to her. So I go to Steve, it wasn't even Steve that it would have, I don't even think it was even you that he was.
Oh, it was me. It was me. No, I went there with a girl whose name escapes me. Who was not my type, I might say. Yeah. And we went there and I said, what do you want to do? She goes, I want to go to San Francisco. I want to see the stuff that you do. And I'm like, all right, let's go to the Mabuhay Gardens. And somebody was playing, I can't remember who. And we went up to the door.
Just a question, that is your Filipino place, right? Mabuhay?
Mabuhay Garden?
That is like the Filipino place, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a Filipino place, but it was like San Francisco CBGBs. Right?
I know.
Yeah. And so we go in and Dirksen lets us in for free, which I thought was cool. And I was pretty excited that the guy who runs the place was being familiar to me. And this girl was like, oh, you're some important guy or something.
You're big shot.
I shook his hand. And I think he didn't like how I shook his hand. He said that I hurt him. Later on, I talked to him about it. He goes, you hurt me. I got arthritis. I go, oh, well, I don't shake hands really hard. I'm not one of those guys. I just do a regular handshake. But so I rubbed him wrong. He didn't like me from the get-go, and I'm not sure why. But
So the fact that we did anything, we just pushed and pushed and pushed and refused. People, where do you guys live? I don't know. We live in California. You would see us at shows every single fucking weekend. So they couldn't, they said, okay, they're not so quite in the Western Front compilation. They put us on. I mean, we were heroes in the South Bay. You get San Jose, you know, Palo Alto, it was great. But as soon as you get north of there, but eventually, I mean, we were playing all these shows. You played shows with Fear. We played shows with, they couldn't deny us. And then added to, we got a record out before a lot of people in the Bay Area, and we went on tour before for a lot of people in the Bay Area. But were we informed by San Francisco? Not in the slightest bit. Steve is from Los Angeles, had already been playing with Dr. No, in Southern California, Aggression, who we used to jokingly call Egregion. And then I was
Sound
from,
egregious.
yeah, I was from New York. Dave was German. Our drummer was from Augsburg.
Augsburg, yeah.
Yeah, his father was an American.
It's not Augsburg, it's like Augsburg.
Okay, yeah, okay. Dave would have gotten that. So, and then Sam was from Montana. So we were not, we were a truly international kind of experience. So I don't feel, I mean, yeah, we used to hang out at KPFA. I was one of the first writers for Maximum Rock and Roll and Ripper and Flipside. But there's nothing that's distinctly San Francisco. And, hanging out at Biafra's house with Howie Klein and Geza X and so forth. But that was just me sitting fly on the wall watching how these guys worked. Winston Smith, some of the other people who I met over there. But I never felt like those were my people. So,
sometimes I do think before I ask questions, and I also write down my shit. And there was one thing that I always wondered when I was preparing this interview. And I would like to hear your opinion on it. I believe that if Whipping Boy had been a band that got together at Columbia University in New York, then I bet my butt, or at least half of it, that Muru Muru would have been received much better.
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. New York I've often said New York, though I love the city, was much more closed to new things than California was. In fact, when Whipping Boy got to New York and played, I kind of marveled at the fact that I couldn't have even gotten those shows had I been in a New York band playing New York clubs. It was, Doug Holland, who had played in Kraut at the time and then was in a couple of other noteworthy bands. I think he was in Cro-Mags for a period of time. He glommed onto us and took us from venue to venue. We went to see Channel 3, and you guys stand here, we'll take care of you. And he would go whisper to the doorman, these are my friends. They're from California. They're famous. We got in. We didn't want to dance a tear. We didn't pay for anything the couple of days we were there in New York. And that's not what would have happened if I had stayed in New York at Columbia. And I don't think. I think the fact that the only locale difference that might have helped would have been had Whipping Boy been from the Midwest. Because if you think about all the bands that came from the Midwest that were early on that post-punk shit, I'm talking about Mech Mensch, I'm talking about Die Kreutzen, I kind of, Scratch Acid became Jesus Lizard, and they were Texas, but that whole middle lane of America, I think it would have worked. I mean, the bands.
If we'd been from Austin.
Huh?
If we'd been from Austin.
Husker Du, I mean, all those bands had change built into their DNA, and it worked for them because they weren't tied down to this West Coast, East Coast divide. But New York definitely wouldn't have helped. I mean, that's how I became a Interpol fan. They did that song, New York Cares.
And you think, nah.
Nah, I know people who've gone to New York and been destroyed by New York. I've had a good luck going back to New York. I mean, I just played New York, I don't know, not even 3 months ago. Nice turnout, nice club, nice venue, really. But it was, of course, under the imprimatur of Buñuel being this international band.
I was just about to say, and everybody is like, oh, those are international superstars.
Yeah, but now everybody knows.
I know what you mean.
I'm a New Yorker now, and you can't help it when you see my mom rocking out there. No, she's 100% New York. So,
Yeah, but I see what you mean with the Midwest thing. Yeah, definitely.
No.
Because I thought like, okay, if this record had been released in a different location
Well, but
with a
the what if stuff that Steve and I have done, and I believe this strongly to be the case, had we even put out the sound of no hands clapping 6 months earlier than we
so you
did.
mean that there was more time between the records?
No, I mean, if we had, broken our album cherry 6 months earlier,
Hmm.
it would have been a different fucking scenario. By the time Sound of No Hands Clapping came out, it was starting to be a bunch of people had figured out, yeah, I could self-release, and then people would buy, and we could play the shows, so in other words, if we had started Whipping Boy 6 months earlier and recorded, I mean, that would have been a big difference. That would have made a big, I believe, because it wasn't, if that was stuff that if that was your jam, there wasn't that much stuff to listen to. You got to remember, Group Sex, the first, this was a Circle Jerks record. That whole record was like 13, 15 minutes long. It was an album. So there wasn't that much stuff out. But by the time we came out with the Sound of No Hands Clapping, we sold a lot of that record. We didn't go into a second printing. So we sold probably like 1,900 of those. But for those were big numbers for us back then. So,
Mm-hmm.
and of course we got later screwed by format changes, right? Like we
Yeah,
didn't
yeah, yeah.
we didn't release it on cassette, but of course, 3 years, even what was it, 5 years later, people were talking about CDs. So
Yeah.
I can
Then we're
self-relate.
back at setting of a record, right? Like locale and the time it comes out. Yeah, I see that. So, gentlemen, first of all, thanks for all the insight into the record. Steve, thanks for rejoining. Um, Before I clue up how many interviews I have now done with Mr. Robinson, we come to the quickfire round at the end. And I've already explained it to the gentlemen, so they know how it's going to go. I have some California-based questions, some New York-based questions. So let's start off with Steve to pop his quickfire cherry. The Circle Jerks versus Bad Religion.
I'm going to say Bad Religion.
Can you give an explanation why?
Yeah. So Circle Jerks, when I first started to be a punk, I was living in Ventura County in
Mhm.
California. So LA was a big deal. And I would say my biggest beef with the Circle Jerks didn't have anything to do with their music. It had to do with the politics of Keith Morris
Mhm.
and Black Flag. And Greg Ginn is a kind of a prickly bear. But it seemed to me at the time, and I was still enough of a hippie that I would like to see, like when I talk about Gong, all these guys that were playing wherever it was, they were Salisbury or whatever, cooperating, playing together. I'm singing for you. I'm singing for you. We're doing the same song. It sounds different because a different band's playing it, but we're all doing it. Everybody's staying alive and getting something to eat. I thought that the bad blood there, to me, it exemplified what was the matter with the LA punk scene in the
Mhm.
first place. Just lack of cooperation, a lack of concordance, and just everybody out for their own thing to slit somebody else's throat. And it just
Mhm.
seemed like total bullshit to me. And I felt like Black Flag and the Circle Jerks both suffered from that musically. I think their music suffered. There was a period of time when I was all excited, and then I was like, yeah, you know what? Those guys, they're just cranking out the same songs over and over again, and it's really not anything special. But I think Bad Religion also kind of more serious as a band, more serious about the music. So
And
that's my take
also
on it.
more serious about certain things going on in the world around them.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And the Circle Jerks are like sort of a silly drunk band to a certain extent.
yeah.
Yeah.
They are what TV Party sounds like.
Yes.
Nothing,
Yes.
nothing against Black Flag. I still like
No.
Black Flag a lot, but like I don't know why, but to me, Keith Morris was always like a Humpty Dumpty on stage. I don't know why, but still.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
And Eugene is like,
I would have chosen
you're talking yourself into a grave here, man.
I would have chosen Circle Jerks myself, but that's because they've been, they've been causally connected to, to Whipping Boys. So I'm like,
well, they did give us our first leg up. Yeah, they did. I gotta hand them that.
Yeah, but you've already chosen, so now it's too late.
I know it's too late.
Former New York guy. I know that you like hip hop, and as you are old, you were probably around when it started. So I'll give you Africa Bambaataa versus DJ Kool Herc.
I'm gonna go with DJ Kool Herc because Kool Herc was the first, and he didn't molest young boys. So easy pick.
That's true.
Yeah,
although both have a certain kind of attitude about them, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
No, African Bambaataa got arrested for it.
Yeah. That makes the term Zulu Nation something totally different.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But Steve, which one would you choose if you had to? African Bambaataa or DJ Kool Herc?
You might as well have asked him about quantum mechanics. He'd be better answering the question about quantum.
Oh yeah, no, I'd be way better.
No, I would have to ask Greg Refn about anything quantum or biology.
Yeah. So. I've been trying to get Steve to listen to hip hop for years, and I think he said it's just guys clever talking. I was like, yeah.
And you know why he doesn't listen to it? Because you are always clever talking into his ear. So why should you listen to anybody who's rapping?
No, for me, it just reminded me so much of New York. So it took care of my New York nostalgia. And the first rapper I met was a guy, one of the first rappers that had ever existed, a guy from the Bronx called Jimmy Spicer, who had a big hit with Dollar Bill, y'all. And he and I worked together in 1977. So I've been listening to hip hop since 1977. Also the year I started listening to punk rock. So
now I can make you feel old. That is 1 year before I was born.
Yeah, of course. I feel old every day anyway. The only reason I feel okay on this show.
But you look 30 years younger than you are, and I look 20 years older than I am. So my balance is out.
I create a good, clean living.
Oh yeah, that's what it is for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like everybody. No, let's not get into detail on that one, Steve, because otherwise, Anyway, New York again. Debbie Harry versus Patti Smith.
Oh, Debbie Harry, easy. Patti Smith's myopia regarding Mapplethorpe, and you don't get me too deep into the Son of Sam thing, and there's a whole weird undercarriage if you read Maury Terry's book, The Ultimate Evil, and all these archetypes, and she just was always so precious with the Rambeau and this thing, and I just and then her latter day act, I don't know, I think Deborah Harry always had much more panache and was a lot more instrumental in a lot of ways, I thought. So
yeah, and I think she combines something that is a rare thing. She combines panache and grit, it's
yeah, and there's also this weird otherworldly quality to her as well, where like she reminds me to a certain degree of Montgomery Clift, where like when you talk to them, it's like they have to translate what you're saying into a language they understand.
Oh, you mean like
yeah. So
Steve,
you can't tell me that you don't know Debbie Harry and Patti Smith, so you have to.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, I know them. No, Debbie here, I'll tell you, I picked Debbie Harry too, and not for the same reason as Eugene. Patti Smith reminds me of like if Grace Slick was skankier. And it's like, does she have some talent? Well, I guess she does. Yeah. But I never
is she
really
good at selling herself? Yes, she is.
Yeah, and she's like a skanky Grace Slick to me. And she wrote some stupid shit for Blue Oyster Cult, who were my favorite band back then. So it was like, I go, oh, this is one that she helped Lanier write because it's so lame, This lame song on the record, it has to have Patti Smith fingerprints all over it.
And I'm sure people are going to listen and go, oh, well, it's just because Deborah Harry was hotter. No. 1977, Patti Smith was pretty hot, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that we're talking about women who not only are good musicians, we have to give both of them that credit, but like nearly 50 years ago, they look different.
So did we, actually.
Yeah.
Eugene looked the same.
No, but
not me, but
oh no, I'm not ageist in that regard now. I would have sex with both of them now easily, but I'm just a nut. But
oh yeah. So let's go back to California. And I thought about Laurel Canyon, and I thought like, okay, what can I give him? And so I came up with the obvious Crosby, Stills, and Nash versus Neil Young. Mr. Ballinger, you choose first.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the thing about Neil Young, I'm going to say Neil Young. I'll just tell you that straight up. The thing about Neil Young is not a poser at all. Not even slightly a poser. Absolutely believes it, lives it, does it. And the thing that I find really mystifying about Neil Young and very interesting is he's a really, really good guitar player, and he hardly ever showcases it on recording.
Or gets credit for it.
No, it's like, and the thing is, you'll see live stuff, and he is just blazing it, and I'm like, why did you play all that? Like, and he's always doing this thing where like no distortion, just the neck pickup turned up as loud as it'll go and picking really hard. It sounds crummy, but I guess that's his style. It's like Lou Reed had a style that he used an acoustic guitar turned up so loud that it would feed back if he didn't keep strumming it. I think it sounds like crap, but he really liked it. And so,
you mean Lou Reed?
Yeah, I think.
I can agree with that. Sorry.
No, I think Neil Young has improved every group that he comes in contact with.
Yeah.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash were all right, but when he joined the group, it changed them dramatically, and in a positive way, I would say. To
this day, the only record that I consciously purchased on which Crosby, Stills, and Nash are featured is the one with Young.
Yeah. No, it's a way different record. Kind of took Graham Nash, who was kind of a wimp, and shoved him into the back, and maybe even calmed Stephen Stills' ego a little bit, which God help that guy. He had a serious ego problem. I don't know if he either thought he was great or thought he was terrible.
I would pick Neil Young as well, but I've only seen one of them perform, and that's Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And they performed in the unlikeliest of venues. I happened to be sitting at a table at a wedding in Las Vegas, and the band comes on, they're playing. I go, these guys are fucking phenomenal. Where'd they get the wedding band? And somebody at the table looked at me like, you fucking moron. I go, they're doing these great Crosby, Stills, and Nash tunes.
Covers, yeah.
Sounds just like them.
It's just like them.
It's fucking Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And boy, they were just, their voice, angelic. I was like in shock. And these were old men at this point. This must have been 1990, 93 or 94 that I'd seen them. But I would still pick Neil Young. So.
And for the last one, I thought I'd choose something neither New York, neither California. But I chose Fugazi versus Minor Threat.
I'm going to go with, oh man, that's a rough one. If Steve has an answer, you can go.
I have an easy answer because I saw one of those two bands live. So for me, it's Fugazi.
Well, we played a bunch with Minor Threat, so.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, but you were just a Minor Threat to Minor Threat.
My problem with Minor Threat, what had nothing to do with Ian, really. Well, it sort of did. They're a really tight band. And Ian has maybe the most limited vocal range. I mean, his vocal range is more limited than like Des Cadena's yelling.
There is an argument in that, yeah.
He can sing like four notes.
Black Flag singer, though, vocally.
Huh?
Des was my favorite Black Flag singer vocally.
Yeah.
He was a better front man, but Dez's voice was great, I thought.
He had a perfect punk rock voice, yeah.
So which one would you choose now, Steve? I didn't get that.
I think I would choose Fugazi. I think Minor Threat probably would have been a better band with a different singer, honestly, even though he was sort of the focal point. And my main problem was he reduced everything to like this sort of bitone. Yeah.
You
know what I'm saying? Every song he would do this thing where he would, and then in Fugazi he kind of got away from that. And I think,
Well,
and Guy.
Yeah.
Huh?
And you have Guy doing a lot of vocals,
Yes. Yeah. He wasn't doing all the singing.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Fugazi as well because I mean Minor Threat legacy 100%, but
Unbeatable.
yeah, but the lyric writing was better with Fugazi.
Yeah.
Guy had a better voice,
Yeah.
and it was a serious and significant bridge from hardcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, Ian and company could have written that into forever. I mean, as it is, Brian is playing guitar with you know, with Bad
Bad
Religion.
Religion. Yeah.
Jeff is running Discord with Ian, and then who's the other cat? He's a record label guy. Lyle is yeah, he's a record label guy, so he's doing record label stuff. But Fugazi, I don't know what those guys at Fugazi are doing now, but I think I think the records were smarter. The music was better, and I like that they afforded the bridge from hardcore to from hardcore to post punk, and um, and they put out more music, right? I mean, Minor Threat
Yeah.
didn't have a whole hell of a lot of music in
No.
the end. So, I mean, Minor Threat's good teenage music, but Fugazi is good adult music. So,
Yeah, and I think there is also on a very different level. I think, although of course that both Minor Threat covers are iconic. The guy on the stairs, the band on the stairs, very very iconic.
that was
But
Alec.
when one looks at iconic hardcore photography, then I think nothing will ever beat Guy
Yeah,
hanging in the basketball court. That is like unbeatable. I mean, like that is so
Yeah,
weirdly cool.
It's funny to think about the bands that have made it on the basis of one photograph. And I think of Mudhoney, "Touch Me, I'm Sick." That cover, like that was a
Yep.
super iconic. I think it was Mark Arm playing, you know, with his hair. And yeah, that guy hanging from the rafters from the basketball thing, that was a great one. Alec on the stairs with the Minor Threat. These were all. And strangely enough, I love Ed Culver, but I thought his cover of Damage was shitty. I thought it was then, and I still think
Oh
it is.
yeah, yeah.
It was just terrible, man.
So,
And he recently did a retrospective where he was talking about, you know, what he went through to take that photo, and they didn't want to fake it, and I was like, yeah, it sucks, bro.
It looks so fake.
Yeah,
It couldn't look faker, man. Seriously.
yeah.
so as I don't want anybody to like shout at me and scream at me, I looked it up. So, Free Second Kiss from Italy, released on Southern Lord and on Slow Dime, which was a record label started in 1996 by Juan Luis Carrera and Amanda McKay. I think that's Ian's sister.
Amanda.
There you
Yeah.
go.
I think that was the baby. Yeah. The sister, the older sister was like, I think, a professor at Stanford.
I think you're right. I remember that.
I mean, that's how Ian and Alex showed up at my dorm room. Sitting
Oh
there,
yeah.
my underwear, I get a knock at the door, opens, like, what you doing here? Yeah. I guess they never really believed I went to Stanford, so they just had to come check. You know, they talked to somebody, hey, do you know where Eugene lives? Some random stranger goes, oh yeah, he lives over there.
Let me bet at that time we could have gone into Stanford and could have said, like, can you show us the place of a black Jewish guy?
No, it was a Mohawk. There was like nobody else who had a Mohawk.
See?
That's all it took.
And he was,
all
you know,
it took.
that black guy with the Mohawk, and they go, oh yeah, he lives over there. So
Yeah. So, gentlemen, thanks for everything. Mr. Ballinger, I will not ask you the last question because I have to test Mr. Robinson.
All right.
How many interviews, including this one, have we now done, Eugene?
I would say 5.
Close. It's 6. The first one is a written interview where I still believe at that time when you wrote it back, when you sent it back, I was scared the hell. I was like, if I ever meet that guy, he's going to hit me. Then we had 2 on Buñuel, 1 with Oxbow, 1 now.
Yep.
So this is number 6.
Yeah.
And 1 on your biography.
Oh yeah, on the memoir, yeah.
Yes.
But it's funny, you know, generally I'm a nice guy with a sunny disposition.
Yeah,
And
but when you read your shit,
no.
that's
I
scary.
That changed this past week. This band from France asked me to write liner notes for them. And they're doing a very special, specific project. A guy who was a contemporary of John Cage's, who did
Okay.
this whole weird series that had mental health and drug issues and died, Julius Eastman. They asked me to write a piece. I go, well, how long? It's 500 words. I said, well, I charge $1 a word. They go, well, we'll pay it. And so I write this great piece. I land on 501 words, right? I turn the piece in. I go, I hope you guys like it. And they write back, yeah, it's kind of cryptic. We don't really understand. If you could take the first 4 paragraphs and move them. And I was like, I flipped the fuck out. I did. Old age has earned me this prerogative. I said, I tell you what, why don't you get AI to write your fucking thing? And just to show you my heart's in the right place, you don't have to pay me at all for that piece of advice. Just trash what I sent you, get AI to write it. You guys don't need me, you're fine. And it's like radio silence. And then they wrote back, we're sorry.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like if you said like get AI to write your shit, that's only $7, like it would cost more on transfer fees and shit, like
well, they said, well, sorry, we're in this nitpicking phase. I go, I just spent 38 years in a band with a nitpicker. I don't fucking do that shit anymore. You use it or you throw it out. It doesn't matter to me. Forget it. And so they said, okay, now we'll take it. We'll take sorry.
No, sorry.
But I was surprised. I surprised myself because I don't usually flip out like that. But every now and then you got to flip out. So
I used to write for Eugene a little bit. Right? You'd tell me, hey, I need a story. Write this for me. And I would, laboriously and so carefully choosing every word and moving things and moving them around. And I'd send it to Eugene and he'd go, yeah, first of all, there's 3 times too many words in this. I only have room for 500 words. It's 1,580 words. Cut. And I'm like, they're my words.
And you cannot rewrite that. You cannot cut it.
I love the words. If I take this out, this won't mean anything.
Yeah.
So it's because I respected you that I let you do it. I had a guy who interviewed Carl Franklin, the director who did One False Move. And this guy came to me. He was supposed to be a friend of Richard Pryor's, hung out with Dick Gregory. He turned in this piece that was fucking absolute garbage. And I had a deadline to meet. I completely rewrote the piece. Not a single word. Like I just used all of Franklin's quotes, wrote the post, put his name on it, published it. And then I wait because I know he's pissed. But he was smart. What he did is he read it. He called Carl Franklin. Carl Franklin was shocked that dummy had written it because the guy's questions were fucking bunk. And he was like, thanks for writing it. And the guy then calls me and goes, yeah, it's kind of not really what I sent you, but but when's my check getting here? And when's my next one? I was like, you fucking piece of shit, you know? So anyway, I have offered to fly writers out to fight me. The black
do
guy.
I get free food and lodging at your house when I come and fight you?
No, I'll pay for your plane fare and then you get back on the plane if you can afterward. But the black guy on the first season of MTV's Real World threatened me. And I go, I'm not Keith Clinkscales who P. Diddy could beat up. I will pay for your plane ticket to come to LA right now and we can talk about what you want to talk about.
And it's going to be a very nonverbal communication.
Yeah, somebody's going to get hurt and I'm not talking about feelings. And then he hung up the phone on me. Kevin something or other. I don't remember his last name.
Sorbo. I don't know. Gentlemen, before this results in old guys talking about the war, I'll let Eugene go to his beautiful wife and tell her I'm sorry that I talked about women, Patti Smith and Debbie Harry. And Steve can enjoy the rest of his day because I think, what is it, 12?
It's not even noon. Oh, it's just afternoon.
Yeah.
12:30, yeah.
So
enjoy
the rest of your day. And guys, thanks for doing this.
All right, Dustin, send us a link when it's done.
Of course I will, as always, my friend.
All right, man. See you guys.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Later.